Welcome back to World Grand Prix Motorcycle Racing on ESPN. The 250cc class has been dominated by Japan's Tetsuya Harada so far, but the Italians, Dave, they're pouring it on right in back of him.
Well, they sure are, and the Italian pouring it on most liberally is Doriano Romboni. He won both the pole and the race in Germany. It was his second career pole and second career race victory, and they've all come back to back. He is definitely the guy with momentum right now, but in order to win Germany, he had to have a gift from his countryman Loris Capirossi, who made a huge mistake on the last lap and settled for the runner-up spot.
The jump start controversy some 2 months ago in Malaysia involving 4 riders was finally determined, and Loris Capirossi, seen here going back into the garage, was the loser in the deal, while American John Kosinski, he went from 6th to 4th in the points.
We were 6th when we left Hockenheim, and we arrived in Assen with 4th. So I can't say we're not happy with that, because it's helping us, and we nearer the front runners in the championship. So we're quite happy about that, but I regret that we have to wait 2 months after the race to know the final decision, and I don't think it's very serious and professional from the outside to have 4 different classifications for the same race. And I hope in the future, if there is a penalty, which is right, because if rider jump the start, it's a very important moment in the race, it has to be done very quickly, and nobody has got to come back on it.
Capirossi took the 250 pole once again, though the battle to claim it was a great deal more difficult than his 4/10 margin would suggest. Here's number 65 Capirossi, and Romboni, after 2 poles and 2 wins, was in there chasing championship points. He was second on this Dutch grid.
Romboni really the man on the move in the class with 2 wins in a row. He'll carry an onboard camera, and this will give you a sense of just how twisty and turny this Dutch circuit is. A pure motorcycle racetrack. You're cornering all the time here.
And the guy that had a hand injury coming into the season is Reggiani. He comes behind the 2 Aprilias. Reggiani 3rd quickest and hardly a 10th behind Romboni.
And then his teammate, J.P. Rougia, Jean-Philippe, getting the 4th spot.
A half a second slower in 4th. Okada, new to the track, just back after injury. Okada underlines his own ability and the speed of the Rothmans Honda by grabbing the inside row 2. That would be the 5th fastest, and here's the big surprise, Dave. Harada is 6th.
Now, the championship point leader wanted to be better than that. He's struggling a little bit with the bike setup, although certainly the rider is confident. Witness his huge point lead.
Taking a look at the grid, Capirossi on the pole, Romboni, Reggiani, and Rougia.
Great results for Aprilia, starting 3rd and 4th. Couple of surprises back here. Biaggi in 7th. He should be better than that. Kosinski in 8th. Who knows what the Suzuki's going to do. It's been very unpredictable this year.
In our highlights, let's get on board right here at the start with Doriano Romboni as they get set to go in this 250cc action. You'll notice both Aprilias get off well, Reggiani to the front, and then there's a slingshot move.
Yeah, that's Max Biaggi. You talk about getting off well. He came from the middle of row 2 into 2nd spot. Loris Capirossi, the pole sitter, made the pole work. That's him in red and white out front.
Romboni closing in on Max Biaggi.
Closing in indeed. Romboni runs into the back of Biaggi's motorcycle and bends up the exhaust pipe. He manages to save it as one of the Aprilias shoots through.
That would eventually put Max Biaggi out of the race with a mechanical.
Here's the replay, and you see Romboni on the brakes hard. He doesn't want to hit Biaggi, but he runs out of racetrack. He couldn't outbrake him, and they actually made contact that crimped up the exhaust pipe on the left side of Biaggi's motorcycle.
On board with Romboni once again, closing in on Reggiani.
And closing in tight. After you have an incident like that, then you be a little more careful on the brakes from that moment on.
Capirossi way out in front now, trying to make the break. He crashed this morning in practice day.
Yeah, he had a perfect motorcycle and then went out and threw it on the ground. He was very unhappy with himself, but the crew put him on the backup bike. They've got it set up the same way, and it's working great. He's gone.
Throttle has moved up to 4th in the pack behind.
He's following his teammate Romboni. You see the 2 yellow motorcycles. Here's Romboni making an inside move around Reggiani that puts him up into 2nd spot. Throttle was probably figuring, I'll just follow my teammate. That would not be a good plan. Here's Romboni.
Because at max angle, he goes down trying to catch the leader.
Unbelievable that Romboni would let it get away from him like this. Second huge huge mistake of the day. And from the onboard camera, you saw him lying on the ground. This isn't much of an angle. Doesn't show you much except the tail end of the tumble. The bad news is Doriano Romboni, compound fracture of his lower right leg.
And that really messes up the point situation because Harada now has the commanding lead with the second-place rider unable to even race.
That was Biaggi going to the pits for repairs on the exhaust pipe. Capirossi says, thank you, guys. I'll take this gimme. Man on the move is Harada, number 31. The attrition up front helps him. He's the point leader. He's got to get to the front.
Looking back, it's pretty empty track, but up front, look at that move on the inside as Kosinski, the American, gets by Zeelenberg.
This is part of a great race for sixth. Wilco Zeelenberg is a Dutch hero. He rode the Suzuki last year. Now Kosinski's on the bike, but look at this fight. That's Reggiani, Kosinski, Keeley, and Zeelenberg going for sixth spot. Great race.
During these twisty turns, Zeelenberg really making a gutsy move here now. Number 11 following Kosinski.
He left Keeley with no place to go. He didn't want to let Kosinski get away, but see what happened when they tangled. Kosinski indeed gets loose from them, and so that is now a two-man battle for fifth and sixth. And as we fast forward here, Kosinski's the man on the charge. He's going to get around Reggiani, go all the way up to catch Ruggia and Harada, who are battling for second, and that becomes the story of the race. Here it is.
In our shot, Ruggia out in front, Kosinski working with him, but look out for Harada coming up right behind, and that becomes the big race, Dave, as Harada just inside. Ruggia holding on right behind Kosinski there.
Not for long, though. By the last lap, it was just John Boy and Harada, and it really became a battle of courage. This is a Lucky Strike sponsored race, a huge responsibility for John Boy to do well here, but Harada wants him bad.
Number 31, Harada, making him think, going to both sides. Which side will he pass?
I mentioned earlier it's tough to pass on this racetrack. It's a one-line deal. Harada never stops looking for the opening. He's always showing him the wheel, and eventually it pays off.
Well, Harada makes it look easier on the 250s to pass on this course. Look at Kosinski. Look over his left shoulder. Harada takes the inside.
He looked left. Harada went right. John should not be looking back. The finish line is ahead of you, John, and that's where your attention ought to be focused. And that's it. Harada's gone.
And the points leader is just shooting his way toward a bigger gap in the point standings. All alone out in front, Loris Capirossi picking up the front wheel for his first 250 victory. A long time coming, Dave.
Finally, he wins one. Twice the 125 world champion. It's taken him a couple of years to get to the top of the roster in 250.
Harada and Kosinski coming over the finish line. Of course, Romboni is out with a broken leg, and he was second in points. Ruggia, second for so long during the race, had to settle for a fourth. As you see there, Loris, a happy person, as well as the pit crew.
Well, indeed, the team all have a lot to celebrate here. It's a great win for Loris Capirossi, especially after the crash this morning.
Harada, Kosinski, Ruggia, Brattle, and Reggiani, the top six.
Big story is points. Harada just won't give him any slack, and with Romboni hurt, I don't see anybody catching him.
And John Kosinski mired down in fifth with only 80 points.
One might believe from the pictures that we see here that the seventh place man had won the race because Wilco Zeelenberg is being honored by 130,000 of his fellow Dutchmen.
This was his best finish at home, and a great salute to the fans. And while this was going on, champagne was spilling, but hey, somebody's missing here.
Missing is John Kosinski. Under circumstances the Lucky Strike people found suspicious, his bike broke on the cool-off lap. He turned down a ride back to the sponsor's Victory Lane celebration. And 2 days later, they gave John his walking papers. He has been fired.
So we'll leave a happy Loris Capirossi. Coming up next, 500cc action.